Something massive is happening around XRP right now, and most people still do not understand how big this moment could become. For years, XRP holders stayed patient while the market ignored Ripple, regulators created fear, and major institutions stayed quiet. But suddenly, everything is starting to shift at the same time. Banks are moving differently, global payment systems are changing, and Ripple is now standing in a position that could completely transform the future of digital finance. And here's the shocking part: nobody is talking about enough. If someone is holding just 2,000 XRP today, the next few years could look very different for them financially. This is not just another crypto rumor or social media hype. Real developments are happening behind the scenes, and smart investors are paying close attention before the rest of the market catches up. So, in today's video, we are breaking down why people believe XRP has entered its most important phase ever, what Ripple is preparing for next, and why holding even a small amount of XRP could become life changing if this momentum continues. For a very long time, XRP holders have heard the same negative comments again and again. People called XRP dead, outdated, and controlled. Many investors left because they lost patience after years of sideways movement and legal pressure. While meme coins exploded overnight and other cryptocurrencies got all the attention, XRP stayed quiet in the background. But experienced investors understand something important about markets. The biggest moves usually happen when the crowd stops paying attention. And now, many analysts believe XRP may finally be entering the phase that long term holders have been waiting for. The reason people are becoming excited again is because Ripple's position in the financial world looks stronger than ever before. Ripple is no longer just a crypto company trying to survive. It is becoming a serious financial technology player with connections across multiple countries and institutions. Ripple has continued expanding even during difficult years, and that is something many people ignored. While social media focused only on price action, Ripple kept building partnerships, payment solutions, and infrastructure behind the scenes. One of the biggest reasons XRP supporters are confident is because the global financial system is changing rapidly. Traditional banking systems are slow, expensive, and outdated when it comes to international transfers. Sending money across borders still takes too much time and costs too much money. Financial institutions know this problem exists, and governments also understand that digital payment systems are becoming necessary for the future economy. Ripple created XRP to solve exactly this issue. That is why many investors believe XRP has real utility instead of just hype. When people talk about holding 2000 XRP, they are not saying it will magically make everyone rich overnight. What they are saying is much deeper. They believe XRP is entering a period where adoption, regulation, clarity, and institutional interest could push the asset into an entirely different category. If XRP ever becomes widely used in global payment systems, then even a relatively small amount today could become extremely valuable later. That is the idea creating so much attention right now. Another major factor changing investor confidence is the legal progress Ripple has made in the United States. For years, the SEC lawsuit created fear across the market. Many exchanges removed XRP, investors became uncertain, and large institutions stayed careful. But now the situation looks completely different compared to before. Ripple survived the pressure, continued operating globally, and gained important legal victories that changed how the market views XRP. Many investors believe this legal clarity could open the door for larger adoption in the United States financial sector. At the same time, crypto markets are entering another important cycle. Historically, Bitcoin moves first, then large cap altcoins begin gaining momentum afterward. During these phases, investors usually start searching for projects with strong fundamentals and real world utility. XRP often enters conversations during this stage because it already has an established network, strong community support, and years of development behind it. Some analysts believe XRP is currently undervalued compared to what Ripple has built globally. There is also growing discussion around central banks, digital currencies, and tokenized assets. Financial systems around the world are preparing for modernization, and blockchain technology is becoming a serious part of that conversation. Ripple has consistently positioned itself near these discussions. That is why some investors believe the market still has not fully priced in Ripple's future potential. Social media is now filling with theories about where XRP could go if institutional adoption accelerates. Some predictions are realistic, while others are extremely exaggerated. But regardless of the exact future price, one thing is becoming clear: XRP is no longer being ignored like before. More investors are starting to pay attention again, and the market sentiment around Ripple is changing rapidly. The most interesting part is that many people who sold XRP during fear and uncertainty are now trying to re enter before momentum becomes too strong. History shows that markets often reward patience, especially when projects survive difficult periods and continue growing stronger. Ripple has done exactly that. Instead of disappearing under pressure, the company expanded globally and strengthened its position in the digital payments industry. Right now, XRP holders believe they may be standing at the beginning of a completely different chapter. The combination of legal progress, institutional attention, global payment demand, and crypto market momentum is creating a level of excitement that has not been seen for a long time. And for people quietly holding 2000 XRP, the question is becoming bigger every single day. What happens if the world suddenly realizes XRP's true role in the future financial system? What makes this moment even more important for XRP holders is the fact that Ripple is no longer fighting just to prove itself in the crypto industry. The company is now moving like a global financial network, preparing for the future economy. This is why many investors believe the market still does not fully understand what Ripple has been building over the last several years. While most crypto projects focus only on community hype and price speculation, Ripple focused on creating relationships with banks, payment providers, and financial institutions around the world. This difference is extremely important because long term value usually comes from real world use. Many cryptocurrencies rise quickly because of excitement, but they also crash when the hype disappears. XRP supporters argue that Ripple's technology solves an actual global problem, and that problem is international money transfers. Every day, trillions of dollars move across countries through systems that are slow, expensive, and outdated. Transactions can take days to settle, and businesses lose massive amounts of money because of delays and fees. Ripple wants to make that process faster, cheaper, and more efficient using blockchain technology and XRP liquidity solutions. That is why people are paying attention to Ripple's partnerships. Over the years, Ripple has worked with financial institutions in Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and Latin America. Even during the SEC lawsuit, Ripple continued expanding outside the United States. Many investors now believe this global strategy may become one of Ripple's biggest advantages in the future. Instead of depending only on one country or market, Ripple positioned itself internationally while regulators were still debating crypto rules. Now, think about what happens if governments finally create clearer crypto regulations. Large institutions that stayed away because of uncertainty could suddenly enter the market very aggressively. Banks and financial companies usually move slowly because they want legal safety before adopting new technology. XRP supporters believe Ripple may benefit heavily once that clarity fully arrives. If institutions start using Ripple systems at scale, demand for XRP liquidity could grow much faster than many people expect. This is where the conversation around holding 2000 XRP becomes very interesting. Years ago, owning 2000 XRP did not seem special because prices remained low for a long time. But investors who understand market cycles know that prices can change dramatically once sentiment shifts and adoption increases. Many people today regret not accumulating Bitcoin earlier because they underestimated its future growth. XRP holders believe something similar could happen again, especially if Ripple successfully becomes part of the next generation financial system. Another reason investors are becoming more confident is because Ripple continues launching new developments even after surviving major legal pressure. Most companies facing years of regulatory battles would slow down or disappear completely. Ripple did the opposite. The company kept hiring, expanding, and introducing new financial products. That level of resilience impressed many investors because it showed Ripple was focused on long term goals rather than short term market noise. At the same time, the crypto market itself is changing. Investors are becoming more careful after seeing countless meme coins rise and collapse. Many people lost money chasing hype without understanding utility. Because of this, there is growing interest in projects connected to real infrastructure and real financial use cases. XRP often enters that conversation because it already has an established ecosystem and years of industry experience behind it. There is also increasing discussion around tokenization. Financial experts believe real world assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, and commodities could eventually move on to blockchain networks. This could create an entirely new digital financial economy worth trillions of dollars. Ripple has openly discussed tokenization and cross border liquidity solutions as part of its long term vision. Investors paying attention to these developments believe XRP could benefit if this transformation accelerates over the next decade. One thing that separates XRP holders from many other crypto communities is patience. XRP investors have experienced years of frustration, delays, fear, and uncertainty. Many people expected XRP to explode much earlier, but instead they watched the market move while XRP remained under pressure. However, surviving those difficult years created a community that now believes patience may finally pay off. That is why emotions around XRP are becoming stronger again as momentum slowly returns. Another major factor is market psychology. When an asset survives years of negativity and still remains one of the top cryptocurrencies globally, investors begin asking important questions. Why is XRP still here after everything it faced? Why do institutions continue discussing Ripple technology? Why does Ripple keep expanding internationally despite all the pressure? These questions are causing many investors to take another serious look at XRP. Some analysts now believe the market is approaching a point where XRP could break out of the shadow it stayed under for years. If legal clarity improves further, institutional adoption increases, and crypto markets continue growing, XRP may enter a completely different phase compared to its past performance. And if that happens, people holding even a modest amount like 2000 XRP could suddenly view their investment very differently. Right now, excitement is building because many investors feel the pieces are finally coming together at the same time. Ripple survived regulation battles, expanded globally, strengthened partnerships, and positioned itself near the future of digital finance. That combination is exactly why so many people believe this story is far from over. One of the biggest reasons XRP holders are feeling more confident today is because the conversation around crypto is no longer limited to retail investors and online traders. Now, governments, banks, payment companies, and financial institutions are all discussing blockchain technology seriously. This changes everything because institutional money operates on an entirely different level compared to normal retail trading. When institutions enter a market, they bring massive capital, long term strategies, and global influence. And many XRP supporters believe Ripple has been preparing for this exact moment for years. Ripple's main focus has always been speed, efficiency, and global payments. While other crypto projects tried to become social trends, Ripple targeted the financial system directly. At first, many people criticized this approach because they believed banks would never adopt blockchain technology. But today, the world looks very different. Digital payments are growing rapidly, governments are researching digital currencies, and cross border transactions are becoming more important than ever. Suddenly, Ripple's long term vision does not seem unrealistic anymore. In fact, many investors now believe Ripple may have been ahead of its time. This is why discussions about XRP reaching unexpected price levels continue growing online. People are starting to realize that if XRP becomes part of large scale financial infrastructure, its value could rise far beyond what most investors currently expect. The key point here is utility. XRP supporters believe demand may eventually come from real financial usage instead of only speculation. If institutions use XRP for liquidity and settlement purposes, then transaction volume could increase dramatically over time. Another important detail many people overlook is supply psychology. There will only ever be a fixed amount of XRP available. At the same time, millions of retail investors already hold XRP, and large institutions may eventually require access to liquidity as adoption expands. This creates an interesting situation where demand could rise while available supply becomes tighter. That is one reason many long term holders refuse to sell their XRP despite years of volatility and uncertainty. The idea of holding 2,000 XRP has become popular because many investors see it as a realistic target for ordinary people. Not everyone can afford Bitcoin or huge investment portfolios, but accumulating 2,000 XRP still feels achievable for many retail investors today. Supporters believe that if XRP enters a strong adoption phase in the future, even this amount could potentially become financially significant. That possibility is creating excitement across the community because people feel they still have a chance to position themselves before larger institutions fully arrive. At the same time, Ripple continues making strategic moves that strengthen investor confidence. The company has expanded services, improved payment technologies, and continued building relationships globally. This matters because successful adoption usually requires trust and credibility. Financial institutions do not move billions of dollars through systems they consider unstable. Ripple understands this, which is why the company has spent years focusing on compliance, partnerships, and enterprise level solutions. There is also growing attention around stable coins and digital settlement systems. Many governments are exploring ways to modernize financial infrastructure, especially as global economies become more connected digitally. Ripple has positioned itself directly inside these conversations. Investors watching these developments believe XRP could eventually benefit as part of a larger digital financial ecosystem. Another reason people are paying attention again is because XRP historically moves very quickly when momentum finally arrives. In previous market cycles, XRP experienced explosive price action within short periods. This history remains in the minds of many investors. They know XRP has the ability to move aggressively once market sentiment changes. Because of this, some people fear missing the next major breakout more than they fear current uncertainty. Social media has also played a major role in rebuilding XRP momentum. Large communities continue discussing Ripple developments daily, sharing legal updates, institutional rumors, and partnership news. While not every rumor becomes reality, the constant attention keeps XRP relevant even during quieter market periods. Many analysts believe strong communities matter in crypto because they help maintain long term interest and support. At the same time, global economic uncertainty is pushing investors to search for alternative financial opportunities. Inflation concerns, banking instability, and changing monetary systems have caused many people to rethink traditional investing. Crypto markets often gain attention during these periods because investors look for assets connected to future technologies and decentralized finance. XRP benefits from this discussion because it combines blockchain innovation with financial infrastructure utility. However, experienced investors also understand that patience remains important. Markets rarely move in straight lines, and volatility will always exist in crypto. XRP holders have already experienced major ups and downs over the years. But many believe the hardest period may already be behind Ripple. The company survived regulatory attacks, market crashes, and years of criticism while continuing to expand globally. That survival alone has increased confidence among supporters. Right now, the atmosphere around XRP feels different compared to previous years. Instead of constant fear and uncertainty, there is growing belief that Ripple could finally be entering a stronger phase of adoption and recognition. Investors are starting to think beyond short term price movements and focus on the bigger picture. If Ripple successfully becomes integrated into global financial systems, the impact on XRP's long term value could be massive. That is exactly why the phrase "it's done" is spreading across the XRP community. Many holders feel Ripple already survived the toughest battles and positioned itself for the future. Now, the market may simply be waiting for the rest of the world to catch up and realize what has been building quietly behind the scenes all along. As the crypto market continues evolving, more investors are beginning to understand that the next phase of growth may not come from hype alone. The market is slowly moving toward projects that can survive regulation, attract institutional interest, and provide real world utility. This is exactly why XRP keeps returning to the center of attention. Ripple spent years building during difficult conditions, and now many investors believe the company is positioned perfectly for the next era of digital finance. One thing that makes XRP different from many cryptocurrencies is its connection to global payments. Ripple did not build XRP just to become another digital asset people trade online. The vision was always bigger. Ripple wanted to create faster and cheaper international transactions that could work across countries and financial systems. This problem is massive because the current banking system still struggles with delays, high fees, and inefficiency. Trillions of dollars move globally every year, and even small improvements in that system could create enormous financial opportunities. That is why institutional adoption matters so much for XRP. Retail investors alone cannot create the kind of long term utility Ripple supporters imagine. The real excitement comes from the possibility of banks, financial providers, and payment companies using Ripple technology on a larger scale. If that happens, XRP may no longer be viewed as just another cryptocurrency. Instead, it could become part of financial infrastructure itself. And this possibility is what keeps long term holders extremely optimistic. Another important reason confidence is growing is because Ripple now appears stronger after the SEC battle instead of weaker. Many people expected the lawsuit to destroy XRP completely. Exchanges removed XRP, fear spread across the market, and critics claimed Ripple would never recover. But Ripple survived all of it. Not only did the company continue operating, but it also expanded internationally during the legal fight. This completely changed how many investors view Ripple's strength and leadership. For years, uncertainty prevented many institutions from touching XRP. Large financial companies usually avoid assets facing regulatory problems because they want legal protection before investing serious money. But now, as Ripple gains more clarity and continues winning important legal moments, investors believe the environment may finally be changing. This is why some analysts think XRP could experience major momentum once institutions feel fully comfortable entering the market. There is also increasing discussion about exchange traded funds, tokenized assets, and blockchain integration into traditional finance. The financial world is changing rapidly, and blockchain technology is becoming harder to ignore. Ripple has spent years preparing for exactly this transformation. While many projects focused only on retail speculation, Ripple focused on infrastructure and enterprise solutions. That long term strategy could become extremely valuable as the financial sector modernizes. At the same time, crypto investors are beginning to recognize the importance of survival. Thousands of crypto projects appeared during previous bull markets, but many disappeared once conditions became difficult. XRP remained one of the few major cryptocurrencies that survived years of legal attacks, negative media attention, and market volatility. For experienced investors, this matters a lot. Surviving difficult periods often creates stronger companies and stronger communities. The XRP community itself has become one of the strongest forces behind the asset. Even during the worst moments, millions of holders continued supporting Ripple and defending XRP's future potential. This level of loyalty is rare in financial markets. Many investors believe strong communities play an important role in long term adoption because they help maintain attention, discussion, and momentum over time. Another reason people are excited about holding 2000 XRP is because many believe current prices may look extremely small in the future if adoption grows globally. Of course, nobody can predict exact numbers with certainty, and crypto markets always carry risk. But supporters argue that if XRP becomes integrated into major financial systems, today's prices could eventually seem insignificant. That is why many holders continue accumulating gradually while the market still debates Ripple's future. The psychology of markets also plays a major role here. Usually, the biggest opportunities appear before the majority fully understands what is happening. By the time mainstream media starts heavily promoting an asset, much of the early opportunity may already be gone. XRP holders believe they are currently sitting in that early phase where skepticism still exists, but important developments are happening quietly behind the scenes. At the same time, fear of missing out is slowly returning to the market. Investors who ignored XRP for years are beginning to pay attention again because they see Ripple surviving and expanding despite everything it faced. Some people who sold during uncertainty are now trying to buy back before momentum becomes stronger. This shift in sentiment is important because markets often move based on confidence and expectations before full adoption even arrives. Many analysts also point to historical patterns in crypto markets. Large cap assets with strong communities and real utility often perform very well once broader market momentum returns. XRP has already proven in past cycles that it can move aggressively once buying pressure increases. That history keeps investors interested because they know XRP does not always move slowly forever. Right now, Ripple appears closer than ever to entering a new chapter. Regulatory clarity is improving, institutional conversations are growing, global payment systems are evolving, and blockchain technology is becoming part of mainstream finance discussions. All these factors together are creating a powerful sense of anticipation around XRP.